Две сестры-мышки, которые в одной семье. Ну, три сестры. Одна сестра, которая мама. Самая маленькая, ей сейчас он такой же малыш, когда рисует. Потому что мне видно, когда А ты с какой планеты? Мама, с какой? Знаешь, папа мне говорил, мальчики, с какой планеты?
You guys are crazy. I'm sorry, I have to start talking because this chat conversation is awesome. So let me actually show you that on the palette. There is one more option. And it's through saturation mixing. Just a second, I'll just clean my palette. And actually, everything that DM was talking about in the chat, it's correct as well. This is one more additional one. And it has something to do with a Munsell color space. So I have a blue, and I have a it's not necessarily orangey enough. Yeah, this is good. And I have an orange, so yeah, it's actually there is a multiple ways how to do it. You can go through blue to orange if they're complementary through the grays as well. So I would start thinking about my grayscale. And then get slowly lighter and lighter with one pigment or desaturated, and then I will go the other way around. On the other side. Right, and if I have my grayscale right here, I can start mixing it with the orange and get lighter and lighter. And then when I'm at the point that I found my value, I can start turning it the other way. Where's my paper towel? Right here. But I'm trying to give you a little bit more light, so I move from here, and then I'll go with blue, right, and then transition slowly into it. So I'll just have that transition. So first, I'm completely desaturating orange from one side, and then same thing from the other side with the blue. And at one point they meet without actually being dirty. It's just a desaturate. It's just a chroma that's working. I would highly recommend you to check out the Munsell color space. There's plenty of videos about this. Munsell, I think it's his name. And the other thing is, if you don't want to get muddy, you don't mix them together. You actually mix the pigment, place the brush stroke. So let me put it this way. So I mix the value that I want. with the hue that I want, right? So I have this. And I could do the same thing with the orange. This is a little too much. I don't have enough orange here. But basically, if they are the same value, they will never get muddy. And then you have a transition. Right? And it's almost seamless, but it works because of they have the same value. That's the most important part. I forgot about the value. Yes, chroma plus value equals chef's kiss. Yes. Well, if you haven't learned the value yet, that's something where I would really start focusing on understanding the value. And not only the value that you're looking at, but also not only the value of a pigment that you're mixing, but also values of things that they are looking at. And when I say values, I don't mean how expensive that is, but how the value shifts as it turns away from us in this three-dimensional space. I wouldn't call it important, I would call it mandatory. Important is to know how to manipulate it, but understanding value, it's the main thing. And I'm sorry that I'm talking so quiet, but like I said, I have other artists around me. I don't want to disturb them. Not that, talking would be disturbing, but, this is our conversation, and not everybody wants to be part of it. That's the easiest way how to put it. There's nothing wrong with it. The other thing how you can create a non-mixing, not muddying the pigments, but I don't like to call it muddying because there's no such a thing as muddy color. It's just a desaturated color, or color with no chroma in it. What I want to say, the other thing is that you can actually use the layers. That's the thing that I like. So I have a lot of layers here, and I'm not mixing them. I'm placing one layer on the top of another one. Create that visual mixing, right? So if I want to create green, I don't mix the green. I put the blue on top of a yellow, or yellow on the top of a blue, right? And not completely, right? So it's not going to be opaque to opaque. It's more like imagine like 4 brush strokes this way of blue, and then 4 brush strokes this way of yellow. And as they intersect, your eye, when you look at it, start mixing them together. So that's the optical mixture. All these things were actually discovered. I don't want to say a long time ago, but during the Industrial Revolution, there was a lot of new discovery in terms of science. Yeah, there is optical mixing. It's the way how our eye works, actually. Not only eye, it's the way how our eye processes the information and send that information to a brain, and how brain interprets that idea. And that's what painting is about. You see something, and then you get that information, your eye, it works as a translator and translate it to a signals to your brain. And then we take that information and through the paint translate it back to a canvas, two-dimensional surface. So it goes from three-dimensional to electric signals to out on two-dimensional surface. And we're creating that illusion of three-dimensional space rather than, because it is illusion. I would highly recommend you to watch the video that Ron Lemon did on color theory. It's my go-to guy when it comes to understanding color. I don't think that it's anyone that well, I'm pretty sure that there are, but I don't think that there is anyone who was able to describe it to me. Now you have cadmium orange you have to put in your painting. That's okay. Because again, at this point, but when you are studying, when you are improving your handling of a pigment, at the beginning, you're gonna think about pigments and colors in their literal meaning, right? It means that if you see something green, you want to use a green hue. As you progress further, you're going to start thinking about the saturation of a pigment, which is, chroma in another way. There's different ways to describe it, but there are three important elements for me. It's a hue, it's saturation, and it's its value, right? Hue means, is it green, yellow, whatever. Saturation means, is it, or chroma, is it really bright or is it dull? That's basically chroma. And then you have a value, is it dark or is it bright? So these are the three things: hue, saturation, and value. Yeah. When you think about hue, that's that literal meaning, right? So this is a red hue, this is a yellow hue, this is a green hue, right? This is a blue hue right here. So that's a literal meaning. I am not using blue because there is something blue there. I am using blue because I need to put something orange next to it, and that's gonna pop up the blueness of that pigment. It's not literal meaning of that. And more you look into impressionistic works, more sense it's going to get, because they're throwing pigments that have no business to be to work there, but somehow by the combination. You can think of it as a safe, and you have a lock on your safe, right? And you're trying to find the right combination to open that safe. So that's what it is. Those are just there is no formula for this. There is no way to actually put it on the paper that this is going to work. So that's why when we talk about there is you can't get to a store and ask for a pigment that it's a skin pigment, because I can see how many changes in that skin is happening, not only based on the turn of the form, but also the imperfection in my skin, and also the way how that surface is affected by another light sources. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Oh, that's why you're here. That's why I'm doing it, because I think that everybody should know this. Who is interested in painting, particularly. I don't think that this knowledge should be locked behind the paywalls. And again, you might think that, oh, the sky is blue, right? That's not necessarily true. Clouds are not white. There's so many different colors. River, it's not blue either. It's just the way how you can. It's just the observation that you have to do. in order to understand, and then translate it to a two-dimensional surface. And like I said, I even in the descriptions, this is something that I do because I want you to know all these things, and I don't want you to feel that you have to, pay thousands and thousands of dollars to get this information. Um, you should spend it on something a little bit more helpful to you, or something that you need more at. That's the pigments that they're getting really expensive. Um, I mean, there's a Google, but something about learning from another human is something that is getting less and less these days. Um, I use both. I use Google, and I use books, and I use lectures, and I watch lectures. But the ones that are for free usually are just really they're barely scratching the surface of the information. And another thing is, you can't really get all the information in 1 hour lecture or in 1 weekend crash course. People are studying and learning how to paint years, decades. So that's something like when they told me that, oh, you're just gonna learn English in 3 months. Well, yeah, but I could, I could say hi, how are you, and I could order combo with my burger. I was not able to use it for reading Edgar Allan Poe or Shakespeare. It took time, and I'm still learning how to speak English properly. Um, and I don't think I'd ever be able to stop, because there's every day something new in a language that I didn't know that exists. And I make a lot of mistakes. The important part is that, same with the painting, the important part is that you keep trying. And you remember I was talking about the cooking the other day, and the cooking is that's the similar thing. You at the beginning you're gonna start. You're thinking about, what is your home language? What's my mother tongue? Slovakian. So like right now there's a really orange pigment, has no business to be in the grass. I don't think that you've ever seen orange grass, but what combination of desaturated blue or green rather, right? It's not going to be distracting, but it's more about the saturation. And when we talk about like cooking the other day, that's what I meant. It's more about, you start thinking about, at the beginning you're thinking about, oh, I'm going to make a chicken soup, so I need a chicken, right? Or chicken stock. And then you start experimenting. Maybe I can use a vegetable stock, or maybe I can use a fish stock, or maybe I can use, I don't know, fill the blank. That's when you start experimenting and creating the flavors. And then we talked about style. No one would ever say that you have a specific cooking style, but you have a cooking preference, or you prefer to, your taste buds are preferred something. So for some reason we think about style in painting. I don't think that we should. And these are all the mysteries and some kind of, I don't know how to even say that, not even mysteries. I think of them as I don't know. Each ingredient adds more, and then you're going to learn another important part, which is what not to add into that soup to make it better, right? Because sometimes we think that, oh, I'm going to add this spice, that spice, that spice. It needs to be better because it's more spices there. It's more about fine tuning 2 or 3 ingredients and finding the ratios, and then you have something that really, really tastes good. And then you're gonna think of, oh, I need the multiple textures, so I have something runny with something crunchy, right? That's why we like a guacamole and tortillas, right? Because it's just it gives you these different textures. Same, or for a steak, very, very simple thing. You have that kind of a sear on the top and that char, and then it's really juicy and tender inside. Um, uh, those are textures on top of actual flavor, right? And that's the same with painting. So you can literally paint everything as a flat surface, because that's what usually that's what we all start with, and then we are going to substitute that flat surface with a brush application and these random thicknesses, and then the illusion of the movement of a brush as it moves through the painting, which Rembrandt sums up perfectly in his work, right? Is going to create another layer of interest on top of already beautiful paintings. Okay, I'm going to shut up because I started to talk too much. And right now, what I'm doing actually, I'm creating. It's hard to see, but I'm creating enormous amount of small brush strokes. Let me maybe zoom in onto it. Oops. So you can better see what I'm talking about. So there is when you look right now, you can start seeing there is a lot of small brush strokes because I'm creating that feeling of grass. Let me turn off the palette so you have a better understanding of what's happening there. Right, and but I'm still thinking about the motion, right? So it moves this way and then this way right here, because that's the diagonal of composition. All right. Looks like a tall grass in the wind. Yes, absolutely. That's the idea, because I could just create again just a simple vertical grass, right? As we think about that, it grows up, right? But I need to think of composition, and the composition wants me to move this way. And I have these vertical things, I have these straight man-made objects, and right now I have a chance to create kind of wavy, kind of a nice motion, because everything seemed extremely linear. So I was thinking at home and sitting and trying to figure it out what would help. And then I remember, oh, we already been here with this problem. We when I was working on the same subject, a different painting in my studio in Slovakia. So I can manipulate your, as I was talking about that, as I was talking about Rembrandt, right, and his brushstrokes. So the direction of the brushstrokes gives that beautiful flow of a composition. So those are these implied lines and implied directional. How would I even put this? This is about, so I'm forcing your eye to follow that pattern. And you remember I was talking about the maze, I was talking about that what's the labyrinth, right? So if you do a straight line, it's very easy for I to go from point A to point B. So I'm curving it and kind of creating kind of a braids of the these little grass blades as they grow. So it's a little bit more interesting, and you don't just skip it and flow. You might want to be interested like how the grass grows and how it interlocks and overlaps the certain things, right? So some blades and some grass goes this way in front of him, and some grows from behind him, right? So that's that three-dimensional space. I have a foreground, middle ground, and background. Yes, you're absolutely right. Let's use, a little bit of this blue. Like you would think, like, why do you have this blue here? Well, maybe let's just get a little bit more interest here. Let's break that orange. And again, I'm not putting it randomly. I'm trying to keep the diagonal there, right? I'm just trying to break that repetition. I was told my name in real life is of Slavic origins, but I don't know. Honestly, I know very little when it comes to this subject. I know the only thing that my name is one of the apostles. And since I have already texture here, when I'm laying these brush strokes, I am laying them down on top of existing texture. So again, this is when that optical illusion starts working. as I get here, I don't want you to leave, so I'm going to change the blades and they're going to go this way back to your painting, right? Because I don't want you to go with your eyes and, you know, spend all the time to get your interest only to move to another painting that that will be next to it. So I'm curving it back, and you can just put one here and then right there, right? So it's outside of the painting. So when someone is looking at the painting, it does not end with the frame, which I've seen so many painters forget that painting is actually also outside, right? So everybody's trying to cut everything into it. And when you look on old masters and their painting, you feel like there is a space around it, that it's not only just a, you know, kind of a theater cutout. Grass is difficult. It is, but it's all about the simplification. I think about the grass as a ocean waves. It's easier for me to think that way. Because then I don't think about individual, you know, blades. Even though I'm painting individual blades right now, I'm following the pattern. It just takes time, and if you start with the small, it doesn't look right. But as you progress and move and fill the whole canvas, that it will start make sense. For example, right now this was a light spot right here, and it was just kind of vertical. So I'm going to make this darker and maybe put the lighter spot right here, right? So I don't have that repetition of everything being on one vertical, right? The light spots, because then it makes it too repetitive. And we want a repetition, but we want a interesting repetition or variety in our repetition. You remember I was talking about the Herald Speed. Unity within the variety and variety within a unity. It's, I think, the best description of what art is I've ever heard. And then I can start shaping it again with these blades and decide where it's going to be. So from the randomness that was there, right now I'm trying to find, not necessarily give it order, but, you know, to direct your view a certain way. another thing is that I can right now decide which one of these blades are going to be um, impasto application, which means with a thick, heavy application of a paint, and which one are diluted with medium and being little thinner and softer, and then also going to create the feeling of randomness with the same brush strokes, right? There's so many that you can do, so much you can do. Let me just turn on the palette because I turn it off for the zoom, and then I can just grab that orange, let's say, and we were talking about the flowers, right? So I can just dab a little bit here. No one's gonna see it. It's just a little bit more of a saturation that helps that direction. You can barely see what's happening there. And then you can give viewer a little bit more information and actually paint, I don't know, like one nice thicker precise a flower, let's say, or two, and again help the direction, which will kind of make sense for a viewer. And I would highly recommend to everybody, look at a Rembrandt's painting and you're gonna start seeing these things a lot, to the point that you're gonna be like, oh, I know nothing about painting compared to him. We're going to have another ad break in 5 minutes, so and it's getting really dark, so I'll have to stop for today. It's getting late, and again it's cloudy, so I don't have that full, I can't use the full potential of a sun. So I made it dark right here, and then I'm just gonna bring some light there. I'm gonna go all over through his clothes, but just a little bit, so it doesn't look overworked. And it looks random. But even though when it's supposed to look random, it should be interesting shape all the time. And this doesn't seem that I'm doing much, but if you look at the beginning of a stream and at the end, you'll see um, how it moved and shifted. And that's that, the beautiful technical narrative that I always talking about, because it's actually changing as I'm painting into it. Same way as grass would shift from left and right, depends on the wind, and depends on who stepped on it, and so on and so forth. So that's why I like it so much, to work with layers. But it's not the only way. It's something that makes me happy. If you don't paint that way, oh, just find what you like. Maybe put a little bit of like that. I put the orange right here in this spot, and right now I'm going with the green, and it's going to create like a little kind of a dirty spots on his clothes, which gives a little bit more interest and authenticity that they probably were dirty as they walk through different weather conditions and so on and so forth, right? So and then remember that you want to create a gradient from left and right and from top to bottom, right? So I don't ever mix one pile of a pigment and then paint from left to right. I always remix and remix and remix to keep the freshness of a pigment. Yeah, remix and remix and remix. That's what I do. I don't pre-mix my pigments and then paint. That's just that feels to me like paint by number. I'm not saying that it's not a good technique. For me, it's not as active. I don't feel like it feels machine-like to me. And then there's very little chance or very little room for experiments and randomness and happy accidents. And there's going to ad break is going to start, so then I'm going to continue talking. think I'm done for today. It's too dark. But minced chicken seasoned with onion and paprika, quinoa, boiled broccoli, celery, and carrots with chickpeas. Are you serious, DN7 right now? I just died by hunger. Paint fried and minced chicken. Okay, so I was just talking about the cooking and you just destroyed me with this. I'm gonna have a glass of water and I'm gonna go to sleep. Sorry, don't be sorry. I am already blaming her for that. Alright guys, thank you for joining me today. I wish I could share dinner via screen, feed you all. Yeah. So we decided to just tease us and we're gonna and being jealous. So it was awesome today, guys. Thank you for joining me, and thank you, Myrons, for a gift. So it's awesome. Um, yeah, thanks. Have a great rest and get some good dinner. Have a great day, you guys too. Have a great rest of the day. I'm just gonna chill a little bit, clean my brushes, do a kind of a what do they say? Like it's a after a athletes used to do that. You know, after I don't know basketball match, it wasn't done for us. We used to then like you have a warm up and then you have a cool down. So I'm gonna clean my brushes, clean my palette, wipe all the mess around, take a couple pictures. And cool down from after the painting. So hopefully you do the same thing, because you know painting is also about it's not just the act of painting, but everything is actually related to painting for me these days. So even though I'm not pressing a brush on the canvas, I'm still thinking what's going to be next. So hopefully I'll see you tomorrow with more painting. It was awesome today. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Stay cool. Bye.